Can you imagine what some Nigerian men are doing for money? Ini was born to a single mother with 4 younger siblings, and she was the eldest. They lived in perpetual and abstract poverty. From the day she was born, she quickly learned to be helpful around the house, helpful to her mother, sacrificing her own ambitions and her own free time to sell in the streets, help other people for money, anything she could do to support her mother, as well as her younger siblings. Every day in her distress, her mother would always say, pray and talk to God. He will be with us. He will help us. He will guide us. By the time Ini was 24, she was tired of hearing stories about God, tired of hearing how he would save them or protect them or help them, when all this time they have struggled day in, day out with the little that they have. So one day Ini talks to her mother and says, look, I'm tired of this. God has not answered our prayers. Since I was born, you've been praying and fasting, and we are still where we are. I'm going to take my life into my own hands, and I'm going to find greener pastures. Ini decided she was leaving Lekki to go to Lagos. Her mother was not thrilled, but she couldn't stop her. Ini took her bags and headed straight for Lagos. Obviously, she didn't find a job when she arrived, so she started by begging on the streets. Until one day, one of the people she was asking for money turned out to be a restaurant owner who she begged for a job, just something that she could do to earn money. This restaurant owner said, you know what, you can be a waitress at my restaurant. And that worked out perfectly fine for Ini. So she started doing that job. And you know what, little by little, she was making some money and had just enough to be able to send back home to her mother. As she was doing this restaurant job, she noticed this woman who looked well-to-do, had money, came in different cars, was always meeting people. She was a regular customer. And one such morning, Ini walks up to the woman and says, oh, madam, please, I understand this might be a little strange, but you're a regular customer and I see you always coming for breakfast, but you always come, in a different car. You meet a lot of gentlemen. You seem to have your life figured out. And I don't know how or what it is you do, but I want to do it. I also want to have my life figured out. I want to be like you. The woman was a little taken aback because that's a little odd. But she felt like, you know what? You seem like a determined young woman. So let me put you in contact with somebody. She gives Ini a contact and says, this man is called Mr. Jacobs. Give him my name and tell him that I put you two in contact and I want you guys to start talking. And he was excited. She was like, you know what? Finally, she's getting her big break. Somebody's going to help her. She starts talking to Mr. Jacobs. And you know what? They get along fine. He meets her. He takes her on lunch, dinner, dates. And eventually, they sleep together. And you know what? That arrangement is perfectly fine for Ini. Mr. Jacobs is married with 3 kids. But as long as he takes care of her, Ini doesn't care. She's a side chick. She's here for the good time, not a long time. Unfortunately, Ini's mother absolutely hates what she's becoming, what she's doing as a side hustle. She keeps telling Ini to pray, to seek God, and to be careful, and that this is not the life she had wanted for Ini. Unfortunately, Ini doesn't really care, and she has other things on her mind. One random day, Mr. Jacobs comes to Ini and says, darling, baby girl, I have a proposal for you. Excited, Ini's like, you know what, let me hear more. He tells her that he wants her, Ini, to get pregnant by him and to give birth to a child. He will make sure to take care of her, buy her a car, buy her a house that will be in her name the minute she gives birth. Ini was like, this is a package deal. Everything is looking splendid. Again, she reached out to her mother, who tells her that, Ini, I've had a dream, and an older gentleman comes to you and is talking to you. And in this dream, he's handing you something. But Ini, whatever he hands to you, do not take it. Ini was like, ma, you are always having a dream. God is always telling you something. I don't want to hear none of it. But her mom insists and begins to describe who this older gentleman is. And lo and behold, Ini finds out that it's the exact matching description of Mr. Jacobs. Ini says, it doesn't matter. I am going to do this and I'm going to keep making more money. Plus, I keep sending you guys money. You're doing better than you've ever done. Clearly, my way is working. So Ini then takes her little batos to Mr. Jacobs and says, you know what? I agree to the terms and conditions. I will get pregnant by you, but all the things you have promised to me, I want. They agree, and 3 months later, Ini finds out that she's pregnant with twins. Now, Mr. Jacobs is very happy. He starts putting things together, and Ini's like, I've hit the jackpot. Mr. Jacobs promised her a 4-bedroom house. She gets a car. He will take care of all her expenses, and she'll have extra cash to send to her mother and her younger siblings. Everything seems to be going on splendidly for Ini until one Sunday morning, she wakes up profusely, and in that moment she realizes she has lost the baby. Now she talks to Mr. Jacobs and tells him that, she's lost the baby. He's very supportive. He tells her, don't worry, it didn't work the first time, that's okay, we'll try again, and the house will be yours when you give birth. But one thing he keeps repeating that was very odd to Ini was that he keeps saying, I'm so confused, I'm so surprised you remember. Yes, this must have been a hard thing, but I'm so surprised you remember. Now that was a very odd phrase to Ini, and as the days goes by, he still mentions it. And she's like, well, yeah, I was pregnant, I lost a child, of course I remember. Still not getting a clear answer from Mr. Jacobs, Ini calls her mother again and says, Ma, something strange is going on. Unfortunately, or lost the twins. Mr. Jacobs being very supportive, but he keeps saying something like he's surprised I remember. Feeling conflicted, Ini's mother adds their hometown pastor on the line. And so they explain the whole story, everything that Ini's been doing, the situation with Mr. Jacobs, and of course the newest development. The pastor then says, there is an occultic club that's been going on for over 40 years in Nigeria, where some men lure young women into having their kids, and then the brotherhood that they're part of then takes the kid, resulting in a miscarriage. What usually happens is through their incantations, the women who have suffered forget the whole entire ordeal. They forget having been pregnant, they forget the miscarriage, and carry upon their daily lives. What sets you apart, Ini, is the fact that you have remembered thanks to your mother's diligent and consistent prayers. So this is not an experience you will forget. Through the shock, Ini says, no, thank you, I will not do it again. In that moment, she immediately gives her life back to Christ, stating that she no longer wants this life. She blocks Mr. Jacobs, she blocks everybody related to that network, and says, you know what? She is going to live a changed life and going to go about things the right way. And indeed, her mother was right. God is always there. And that's all I've got for you guys. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!